Yesterday I had an experience that I am not very proud of, and I want to share it with you because I think it's important to, one, note that nobody's perfect, even though I practice emotional intelligence and I truly try to live by what I practice every single day. There are going to be times when all of us fail to meet our own expectations. So that's the first thing that I want to note, that I'm not perfect and I don't expect anyone to be perfect. The second thing is responsibility. I am fully responsible for how I reacted. I can't use my imperfection as a human being as an excuse. I can only use it as a learning experience, and my hope in sharing this with you is to really break down what happened, all my feelings, where I went wrong, and what I plan to do next time. So hopefully, I will learn from that, but other people can learn from that as well. Yesterday, I was trying to find parking in Uptown Charlotte, which I feel like trying to find street parking in any city is just crazy and chaotic. And as I am parking on the street that I was told to park on, there was a person giving tickets. So I'm like, obviously I don't want to park in the wrong spot. So I parked my car, but they were a good 4 or 5 cars down from me, and there was nowhere for me to park or pull over to roll down my window and ask a question. So I park, I get out of my car, and I say, "Excuse me, sir," and nothing. And so I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'm too far away. So I say it a little bit louder. "Excuse me, sir." Nothing. So I say it maybe 2 more times, assuming that he might not be able to hear me, but I get no response. Lock my car, I walk down, and I said, "Excuse me, sir." And he turns around and he said, "Can you hold on 1 minute? Can you give me 1 minute? You are so rude." That triggered me instantly. I felt my heart start to race. I instantly felt that defense build up inside of me, like, excuse me, I'm being rude. I'm not intentionally trying to be rude, but I didn't say it. Again, this is where practicing emotional intelligence helped me, because I didn't react immediately on that trigger. So I waited for him, and he said, "Do you know how much information I have to enter on here?" Like, his tone, his energy was just automatically defensive and toxic. It wasn't, "Excuse me, can you hold on a minute? I really need to get this done." I'd be like, "Sure, no problem, sorry," and I would generally felt like, oh, shoot, But he just triggered me because his response to me saying, "Excuse me, sir," it was just in your face. It was a negative tone. And so I'm trying to calm myself down, which I did somewhat. And I said, "I am so sorry if you feel like I'm being rude. That is not my intent." And he again kind of barked back at me, like, "You are so rude. People like you are so rude." And I stopped him there. I said, "You said people like me. Like, sir, all I want to do is ask where I can park. I see you're giving tickets. I don't want to get a ticket. Where can I park?" And he said, "Anywhere from here to there." Okay. I walk back to my car. I park. But it's I am boiling inside. I want to have a conversation with this person. I want him to understand me, and I want him to feel that I'm understanding him. I really, truly want that. So I park my car, and I get out, and I walk back over, and I said, "Sir, can we just talk about this whole interaction? Because I'm not feeling good about it. I just feel like you just met me with immense defensiveness, and that triggered me to become defensive too." And he was like, "But you're so rude. You don't realize that." I said, "You're making the assumption that I intentionally was trying to be rude to you." I said, "Do you really think I know what your job entails? Like, what you have to put in the little handheld computer thing he was doing?" I said, "I don't know that. So you're assuming that I know what your job entails and that I'm intentionally being rude?" And he goes, "Yeah, I do think you were intentionally being rude." Second trigger. Now you're telling me the kind of person I am and how I'm feeling about this situation. You're trying to tell me who I am. So that triggered me. I'm still trying to keep it together. I'm still trying to be calm. I said, "Well, I don't appreciate you trying to tell me the kind of person I am. I don't come and assume the kind of person you are. Do you think that's fair?" But you could tell when I said that, that it triggered a defensiveness in him, almost like he knew what I was saying was kind of right and he wasn't ready to hear that, because he said, "Can I ask you something? Can I just stop you and ask you something?" I'm like, "Yeah, go for it." And he said, "Am I not entitled to my opinion? Can I not have my opinion?" I said, "Sure, everybody's entitled to their opinion. But if your opinion of me is that I'm a bad person and that I intentionally tried to be disrespectful to you, that can be your opinion, but it's not the truth. And if you approach people like that, then it's going to trigger in them what you're asking for." And he said some words to me that I cannot recall because I saw red at that point. That was my third trigger. And when I saw red, I took a deep breath and I said something that I'm not very proud of. As he walked away from me from saying what he had to say, I yelled out to him, "You get what you fucking ask for. When you assume people are going to treat you like shit, they're more likely to treat you like shit. You just created a self-fulfilling prophecy." And I walked away thinking, "Brittney, what did you just do?" Up until that point, I was calm, at least out on the outside. Obviously, I was boiling on the inside. But what I allowed to happen was I allowed myself to absorb his toxic energy, which is what I tell people not to do, create that buffer, right? I failed to create that buffer. My wall of being rational was starting to break down. I had a better hold on it because I practice emotional intelligence. It lasted far longer than it normally would have if I wasn't emotionally intelligent, but I let it crumble at the end. If I would have just allowed him to say what he was saying, which again, I can't remember exactly what he said because at that point it really triggered me. And if I would have just said, "I am so sorry you feel that way. It's really unfortunate," and walked away, then maybe he would have walked away thinking about our conversation up until that point when I had been calm and trying to talk through and be understanding. But when I reacted at the very end, I completely untangled all the work that I had tried to do. And yeah, I was really upset I'm still upset with myself for allowing myself to do that, because I try to teach people how to avoid that from happening. And instead, I absorbed his energy and then I released it back onto him. That was exactly what I did. I absorbed. I never really told him how he made me feel. I never said, "By you saying that I am a rude person, this is how I feel. This is how I want to react to you. I'm not going to react to you this way, but this is how I want to react to you because of how you're treating me." So if you have people treating you this way, just, I would ask yourself, how are you greeting those people? What mindset do you have of them before they even approach you? Because if it's always negative and you react to them based on how you think they're going to react, then you're likely to get exactly what you're asking for. And that was the message I was trying to communicate at the end. The way that I did it, though, was ineffective. Just the way he responded to me was ineffective. And when I look back and ask myself, what could I have done differently? Why did it fail? It failed because I went into it trying to practice emotional intelligence. But what I was lacking, what I noticed that I was lacking that would have made all the difference, was compassion. I was practicing without compassion, and that's where it broke. And when I broke, so in my book, The EQ Deficiency, I talk about de-villainizing the villain and the different types of villains. And I turned myself into the desperate villain. And the desperate villain reacts as a villain whenever they feel like they've done all they can and it's not working. And so their last resort to feel heard, to feel understood, is to react. And that's exactly what I did, because I felt like I was trying my best to be understanding, to get him to understand me, and he was having none of it. And as a last resort, I reacted. Again, not an excuse, but I'm working through the process of what happened and why it happened, and next time what I would do. And next time is add compassion into that practice. So yeah, I'm not proud at all of what happened yesterday. I feel absolutely terrible about it. And the unfortunate thing is I can't reverse that. Once we put that energy out there, it's out there. it is out there. Now, if I were to have said what I just told you, came from a place of compassion, one, it would have decreased that amount of hostility and the triggers that I felt. But another thing is, like, even if I didn't just react, I just held it in, I would have had to have gone back to my car, locked the doors, and just screamed in my car to release that energy, because there was so much energy. And it was going to come out one way or the other, but it should have came out in a safe place instead of right back out that person. It was just a ricochet. That's all I was doing. I was bouncing his negative energy around all over the place. And that is a lesson learned. So, if you're watching this, what I don't want is people to say, well, now I have an excuse to just react because this emotional intelligence expert is doing this. No, I'm not excusing myself. I feel awful, and I'm trying to learn from that mistake. The reason that I'm posting this video, and I plan to do my EQ fails anytime I fail to act on what I practice, I want to share it with you all because I think it's more beneficial to hear that people aren't perfect, but also that responsibility piece and what did I learn and what can I do differently? I feel like it can only help all of us. So this is fortunately, I can say this is my first EQ fail in a very, very long time that I can recall, like probably a couple years. Not saying I'm a perfect person all the time, but I really do try to practice what I preach as consistently as possible. And the fact that I failed yesterday really bothers me. But I'm also trying to have that compassion for myself to realize, like, yes, I reacted. I didn't call him names. I just said, you get what you ask for when you treat people like shit, then they're likely going to treat you like shit back. I put some colorful words in there. Yeah, I said, you get what you fucking ask for when you treat people like shit. You're more likely to be treated like shit. I'm not proud of that, but it happened, and it's a lesson that I want to learn from. So